Hello everyone, Just Podcast TV is here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new content.
Episode 16, Narrow Vision.
What the hell, James? Did you really win the lottery?
Sitting in the passenger seat of the Ferrari, Scott shouted in disbelief. He had asked this question at least 10 times on the way downstairs. Scott, how many times are you going to ask the same thing? I already told you. It's true. Can I lie to you? James glanced at Scott and repeated the same line from earlier. James had whispered to Scott that he had won a big lottery a few days ago. He also said that after he got the money, he would open his own company. That was why Scott agreed to leave with him. He had to make up an excuse because he could not tell Scott about the system. Besides, he couldn't explain it to him even if he wanted to.
How much did you win? Can you tell me?
Scott asked, feeling a little embarrassed. Although they were close friends, there needed to be a little privacy. If he didn't want to tell him, he wouldn't force him either. We're brothers. There's nothing to hide. Take a guess. James grinned without a care.
$1 million?
Scott threw out a random number. Damn, can 1 million start a company in the city where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold? Come on, use your brain at least. If I only got that little money, would I have asked you to resign with me? I'm afraid that I'd only be able to eat dirt. Since you're guessing, be a bit bold. Don't be so petty, Scott. Seeing that Scott had only guessed 1 million, James scolded him lightheartedly.
$5 million?
Scott gritted his teeth and made another guess. He was just an ordinary office worker. The number he guessed was almost all the income he could earn in his lifetime. He felt that it should be enough. This damn car is worth $500,000. Your vision is too narrow. Continue guessing. James puffed out his chest and boasted. He forgot that he was the same as him the day before.
What? This car alone is worth $500,000?
James's words almost made Scott scream. Scott knew nothing about cars. Before getting in, he just felt that this car was not bad. It should be worth some money. However, he really didn't expect it to be so expensive. He suddenly felt his legs go soft. What? Don't believe it? Google Ferrari 812. Look at how much it's worth. James felt proud like a peacock. He held the steering wheel with one hand and swished his hair with the other.
James, you're such an idiot. Even if you won a lottery, you can't squander it like this.
Scott was a practical person. Looking at James' smug expression, he suddenly felt his heart ache. That was too much money. If they were given to him, he would have instantly invested them in a business. Buying this kind of consumable was really not worth it. Stop it. You're too short-sighted. Continue guessing and try your best. I'll give you 10 more chances. If you guess correctly, I'll buy you a suite outside the city, James said heroically. He didn't feel any pressure when he promised him that. It was too easy for him to give Scott a suite with his current status. Besides, he had only gotten the system for 1 day. There must be even more generous rewards waiting for him.
Damn, giving me 10 chances is like giving me a suite. I won't be polite. 10 million? Too small. 30 million? Too small. 50 million? Too small. What the hell? 100 million?
Scott's face was already filled with shock. His eyes were wide open as he stared at James. His mouth was so wide that one could fit an egg into it. This time you almost hit the mark, James nodded. After all, even if he had won a lottery, he still had to make it believable. If he said too much, it would easily arouse Scott's suspicion.
Damn, wait. How much? 100 million? I think my blood pressure is rising.
Scott felt dizzy from the rush of blood. Oh, come on. I won the lottery, not you. What are you getting so excited for? James smiled and teased Scott.
I've got a super rich brother now. He even stretched out his leg for me to hug. Isn't it normal for my blood pressure to rise?
Scott rolled his eyes. He finally understood why James said that he was too short-sighted, because he was standing at the height of 100 million. Opening his own company, resigning from his past job, buying a sports car worth 5 million, and so on were indeed insignificant in his eyes. All right, enough chit-chatting for now. Since I'm rich now, I naturally won't forget you. I still have important things to deal with later. How about I let you off for a few days? Go back and have a good rest. See you tonight." James suddenly turned serious.
Okay, I was focused on surviving every day, so I haven't had a good time with my wife and children in the past few years. Today is a good opportunity. I'll take them to Disneyland to have some fun. I'll just relax today. Damn it, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, even though I have been here for 8 years. I've never been there once."
Scott sighed with emotion. "Let's go." James waved his hand and drove the red Ferrari 812 into the city. Inside the Dalton Pharmaceutical Limited, in front of the window, Evans was watching James and Scott leave. For some reason, an ominous feeling rose in his heart. He felt that this time he had provoked someone he shouldn't have. After James sent Scott home, he took out Mitchell Haynes' card and called the number printed on it. The sales department of Lux Villa District was quite far from the city center, so he decided not to head there for now. The company address on Mitchell's business card was not far from here, so he chose to meet him first. Also, he would have to spend a lot of money to invite his colleagues to the company tonight. He needed to get his hands on some cash. "Hello, thank you for calling Larry's Real Estate Agency. I'm real estate consultant Mitchell Haynes. How can I help you?" As soon as the call connected, Mitchell's polite voice came from the other end. "Hello, I'm James. We met last night in the Chef's Grill restaurant." James didn't waste any time and went straight to the point. "Ah, Mr. Tucker." Mitchell was excited when he heard James's introduction, but his professionalism forced him to stay calm. "Yes, that's right, it's me." James kept his answer short. "What do you need from me, Mr. Tucker?" Mitchell Haynes asked politely. "I want you to help me rent out my office building, but I have a condition. Rent at least 1 floor today and make a cash deal. I don't mind if the price is a bit lower than the market rate. To be honest, I'm in urgent need of money now. If you can do it, I'll come to you now. If you can't, just say it. I'll find someone else." James did not want to beat around the bush. He had lived enough of a life where he had to think hard for the parking fee of a few dollars. "Mr. Tucker, no problem. Come over now. We'll do as you say. I promise you will be satisfied." As soon as James finished speaking, Mitchell patted his chest and promised James resolutely on the phone. "All right, I believe you. I'll be there in a bit." James hung up the phone. He turned on the navigation system and headed straight to Larry's real estate agency. After he hung up the phone, Mitchell found it hard to breathe. In the Global Financial Center, the rent for a single floor was already huge, not to mention the whole 10 floors. How astronomical would that number be? If he could get this contract, he would not just become an official employee, he might even be put in an important position by the company and promoted to the sales director or a similar rank. Mitchell felt ecstatic just thinking about it. He roughly calculated the figure in his mind. At the Global International Financial Center, the rent of 1 floor for a year was about $1 million. But now he had 10 whole floors. What kind of concept was this? It would be worth at least $10 million. According to the 2% commission fee, if he rented out all 10 floors of the office building, he would be able to get a commission fee of at least $200,000. $200,000! Mitchell muttered to himself in his heart. Just imagining himself rolling in the money made him feel dizzy. He was running an errand for one of his colleagues, so he was not in the company. However, after that call, he was not in the mood to work for others. Episode 17. Getting Treated as a Liar. Mitchell dashed out of the office like a stallion. He stopped a cab by the road and went straight to the company. Since he dared to guarantee it, he naturally had the means to accomplish the task. He was now the only person in the entire New York City who could become James's real estate consultant. It wasn't because Mitchell was conceited or really capable. Actually, all of this seemed to be the will of heaven. It was fate. Predestined fate. The reason? Just a few days ago, he was helping out a colleague at work. He happened to run into a boss who asked him about the Global Financial Center office building. That person even left a phone number for him. He told him to call him as soon as there was an update. He would definitely rent that place. And just yesterday, he met James, who owned 10 floors in the Global Financial Center. At that time, he was thinking that if he could successfully seal the deal, not only would he earn a huge commission fee, but he would also become an official employee. That was why he had deliberately stayed behind to wait for James. He specifically gave James his business card. He did not expect that James would call him in just a day and even offered an extra condition. This was simply an opportunity that was tailor-made for him. Putting aside the other floors, as long as he could help James rent out this floor first and solve his immediate problems, he did not have to worry about becoming his permanent agent. Furthermore, Global Financial Center is currently the most popular office building in New York City. Many big companies wanted to set up their presence here, so the rest of the floors would definitely be rented out in no time. Mitchell believed the person who could change his fate had finally appeared. That person was James, who was rushing to his company. Afraid of traffic jams on the way, Mitchell was worried that James would arrive before him. After getting into the car, he sent him a message. He told James that he had just gone out and was rushing back to the company. If James arrived first, he hoped that he would wait for him in the company. Afterwards, he dialed the number of the client who needed to rent an office in the Global Financial Center. James parked his car outside Larry's real estate agency and saw Mitchell's message. He felt that Mitchell was quite honest and sincere. Indeed, he didn't seem like a cunning salesman and should be trustworthy. As a former salesman himself, he knew it was normal for guys like them to wait for customers. Hence, he politely replied to Mitchell before getting out of the car. Okay. Everyone was working hard to earn a living. It was not easy for people like them, so he did not have to make things difficult for others. A few minutes later, James walked into Larry's real estate agency with a black plastic bag, which contained 10 property ownership certificates. This real estate agency was not big, but it was definitely not small either. It was a mid-level real estate company in New York City. James looked at the information posted on the softboard. They were all some ordinary houses, shops, and school district flats. With such a high-end office building in his possession, he was definitely one of the top customers here. No, he must be their most important client. Hello, sir. I am Mary Ann, a property consultant at Larry's real estate agency. Are you here to inquire about purchasing a house? As soon as James stepped through the door, a professionally dressed woman walked up to him. She was full of smiles. James had a good first impression of this company. He felt that the employees here were enthusiastic and eager to help. Hello, is Mitchell here? I'm looking for him. James nodded and smiled. He's out. I think he won't be back for a long time. You can sit there and wait for him. Mary Ann's expression suddenly turned cold when she heard his words. After she finished speaking, she left James standing there alone and walked away. In fact, Mary Ann had not even seen James's clothes clearly just now. When she saw a client, she walked over to greet him out of habit. After greeting him, Mary Ann noticed James's cheap clothes. Moreover, he was carrying a black garbage bag in his hand. She immediately determined that he was definitely not a potential client. Plus, James said that he was here to meet Mitchell, the most useless employee in their company. She naturally did not need to receive James personally. In her mind, James was most likely Mitchell's friend who came to meet him for lunch. Mary Ann was a senior property consultant. Why would she want to waste her precious time on someone like him? So that was just her work smile. It seems like I was thinking too much into it. But Mitchell doesn't seem to have a good reputation here. Seeing Mary Ann's abrupt change in attitude, James laughed in his heart. He was too lazy to argue with these people who always had a materialistic view. Shaking his head, James walked to the sofa in the hall and sat down. He quietly waited for Mitchell. Mary, why did you suddenly ignore him? In the staff resting area, a woman looked at Mary Ann and asked in confusion. Mary Ann wouldn't do that normally, so she wanted to know the reason. He came to find Mitchell. Besides, look at his clothes. He looks like a farmer, not someone who's here to buy a house. I doubt he can afford one. Mary Ann snappily laid her reason. She approached the woman and said with a smile, I think he's probably here to find Mitchell and trick him into inviting him to a free meal. In just a few seconds, she had conjured up a whole scene in her mind. As soon as Mary Ann finished speaking, the other woman scanned James before covering her mouth. She said with a giggle, "I think so too." Although the two of them were not talking loudly, James's hearing was very good. He heard their whole conversation. "I am taking this as a cheat for no reason at all. It seems like after I get some money, I have to buy some decent clothes." James shook his head and smiled helplessly in his heart. Although he did not mind the gossip, it wasn't pleasant to always be looked down upon by others. After all, in today's society, people need to dress themselves up and pay more attention to their appearance. James did not care what others thought of him, but following the trend would save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. After Mary Ann greeted James and left him alone, all the employees of the company regarded him as heir. He sat there for more than 10 minutes, but no one took the initiative to pour him a glass of water. One could imagine how pragmatic the people here were. Fortunately, he did not have to wait for too long. 20 minutes later, Mitchell ran in from outside the company while panting. "I'm sorry, Mr. Tucker. There was a traffic jam on the road. I'm really sorry for asking you to wait for me." He didn't even have time to catch his breath. He rushed over to James and apologized to him repeatedly. "It's fine." James shook his head. "Mr. Tucker, this way, please. Let's start right away." Although Mitchell was short of breath, he still politely extended his hand to invite James. Okay, but how about you catch your breath first?" Seeing his miserable look, James did not put on the airs of a big boss. Rather, he was concerned about Mitchell. "No need, Mr. Tucker. Please follow me to the VIP reception room." Mitchell knew James was in a hurry. It did not matter if he was tired, but he could not delay a client's important business. Although Mitchell's performance in the company was not that good, his professionalism was commendable. Besides, he had just called the client who needed to rent the office space. He had agreed to come to the company at once to discuss the details. If possible, the client requested to sign the contract immediately. Mitchell had already conveyed James's conditions to the client. He did not expect the other party to agree without hesitation, so now he had to prepare everything in advance. Once both parties met each other, things would be done very quickly. James liked Mitchell's serious and responsible attitude towards work. He didn't say anything more. He stood up and prepared to follow him to the VIP reception room. "Wait, Mitchell, why are you back so soon? I asked you to do something for me. Are you done yet?" At this moment, Mary Ann suddenly rushed over and stopped Mitchell. It was unknown what Mitchell thought in his heart upon hearing her demeaning tone. Her attitude made even James, who was standing at the side, feel uncomfortable. Episode 18. I've tolerated you for a long time. Only now did James know that Mitchell had gone out to run an errand for his colleague. However, there were many underlying problems in this issue. He went out to do his colleagues' jobs while they did nothing. They did not even help him receive his clients. From this, it could be seen that not only did Mitchell not have a high position in the company, but he also didn't have a good relationship with others. "I'm sorry, Mary. I have an important client who suddenly made an appointment today. I couldn't finish your work." Mitchell looked at Mary Ann's cold face and smiled apologetically. "What? You didn't do it? If you weren't finished, why did you come back? That's a big client of mine. That house is worth more than $5 million. Once the deal is done, the commission alone is thousands of dollars. If you mess it up, can you bear the loss?" Once learning that Mitchell did not do the task she assigned and instead ran back to the company, she publicly scolded him. Damn it, she was the one who asked for help. However, rather than being polite, she even scolded him shamelessly. What kind of logic was this? Mary Ann's actions made James unable to continue watching. But Mitchell opened his mouth first. He continued to apologize. "Mary, I'm sorry. I really do have an important client today. Please understand. When I'm done, I'll immediately help you do it." Mitchell was probably bullied before, so even if Mary Ann had rebuked him, he still acted politely. He maintained his smile and did not argue with her. The surrounding colleagues did not even glance in this direction. It seemed that they were already used to this kind of thing. "No, I can't wait. Today you must help me finish my business first. I'm still waiting for that information." Mary Ann was really rude. Even though Mitchell was so polite to her, she did not give a hoot. In fact, she became even more brazen. She then looked at James with disdain, saying in a nasty tone, "Important client? What important client? Him?" The way she looked at James seemed contemptuous and impolite. To be more direct, Mary Ann looked down on James. Mitchell was indeed a friendly guy. This was something everyone knew. However, even Buddha would get angry when faced with such an unreasonable woman. He actually did not care what Mary Ann did to himself. However, if she offended his big client James, that would not do. That was his bottom line, and also his work ethic. Mitchell's expression turned ugly. Finally, he said in a stern voice, "Mary Ann, I'm warning you. I don't care what you do to me, but please don't be rude to my client. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you any face." The other staff in the company immediately focused their eyes on him. They all found it strange. Normally, this guy would not even dare to breathe loudly in front of Mary Ann. Mary Ann could usually bully him as much as she wanted. What was going on today? He actually dared to talk back and even scolded her. Although Mitchell was usually weak, he was after all a big man who was close to 6 feet tall. Now that he got angry, Mary Ann grew slightly afraid of him. So when she saw that the situation was going south, Mary Ann quickly smiled and said, "Haynes, help me finish my matter first. That customer can wait. It doesn't look like a big deal anyway. At most, it will just be a house in the suburbs. Let's see. If you help me settle my business first, I'll give you thousands of dollars worth of real estate resources to make sure you become an official employee. How about that?" Although Mary Ann did not say it directly, the contempt in her words had offended James once again. This time, Mitchell flew off the handle. He directly scolded Mary Ann. "Mary Ann, you bitch. Don't you have legs? Do it yourself. I usually help you because we are colleagues, but don't think that I'm easy to bully," Mitchell roared. "Let me tell you, although I haven't become an official employee yet, I don't have any obligation to help you. And you guys, I've tolerated you long enough. Get out of my way. Mr. Tucker is my guest. I'm afraid you can't afford to delay him." Mary Ann was almost scared to tears when she saw Mitchell suddenly go crazy and vent his anger on her. The other colleague also felt the same. They never knew that Mitchell, who was so easily bullied, actually had such a violent side to him. On the other hand, James, who had been watching coldly from the side, felt especially good in his heart. In the workplace, there would always be guys bullying honest people. They treated other people's kindness as weakness. He felt that Mitchell's way of doing things was perfect. When he could not bear it any longer, there was no need to continue enduring. In an instant, the entire company turned quiet, and the atmosphere became somewhat oppressive.
Who is so impressive?
A figure walked in from the company's main door and glanced at Mary Ann and Mitchell from afar. The person was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was short and stout. Although he looked like a typical middle-aged greasy uncle, he was dressed in a branded suit, showing that he was different from the rest. "Mr. Miller." As soon as he walked into the office, the staff inside greeted him politely one after another. Indeed, he was the boss of Larry's real estate agency and the biggest shareholder, Larry. "Mr. Miller, someone bullied me just now. You have to seek justice for me." When Mary Ann saw Larry, she immediately leaned towards him with a look of grievance. She even forced out a tear or two. While leaning over, she hugged Larry's arm and acted coquettishly. Even a blind man could see that Mary Ann's actions were very unusual. They must be having a dubious relationship.
"Mary, don't be afraid. I'm here. I want to see you as the guts to make you unhappy."
Larry used one hand to hook Mary Ann's chin while his other hand naturally wrapped around her waist. One must know that Larry had a wife, but now that the two of them acted so intimately in front of everyone, they clearly had no qualms. Their relationship was instantly made clear to James, a bystander. In fact, it was true. Larry was an inappropriate guy, and his relationship with his subordinate, Mary Ann, was abnormal. It was no secret in the company. However, everyone lived on his money. Even if they knew about it, no one dared to say anything. Moreover, the reason Marianne was so domineering was because of her relationship with Larry. With his backing, Marianne's confidence soared. She actually hugged Larry's arm in front of everyone and used her full breast to rub it. Then she pointed at Mitchell and said coyly, "Mr. Miller, it's him, Mitchell. He was acting rudely and even scolded me." Marianne's flirty expression made James feel disgusted. However, Larry was delighted with her performance. He even pinched her plump butt. Then he signaled for her to be at ease with his eyes and turned to look at Mitchell.
Mitchell, how dare you make Marianne unhappy? Quickly apologize to her.
Larry did not ask for the reason at all and directly Mitchell. He was even more absurd than Marianne. However, Mitchell had no choice. After all, the other guy was the boss and the owner of this company. Mitchell couldn't afford to offend him. "Mr. Miller, listen to my explanation first. This is what happened." Mitchell looked at Larry humbly and prepared to explain to him. Before he could finish his sentence, though, Larry shouted angrily,
Shut up, Mitchell. You don't have to explain anything. Apologize to Mary or you don't have to come to work tomorrow.
Larry's meaning was clear as day. Mitchell had provoked his woman, and that was reason enough. There was no need to say any more. He could only apologize unconditionally. "Mr. Miller, Mitchell looked aggrieved at Larry. He still wanted to insist on explaining the situation to him. However, Larry remained cold and callous, interrupting him once again. He ruthlessly said, "Don't waste my time. I'll count to 3. If you still don't apologize, then scram on your own. Don't say I didn't give you a chance." After that, he really started counting.
1, 2.
Seeing that Larry was really going to fire him, Mitchell became a little anxious. Before coming here, he had imagined getting a promotion in the company and a handsome commission from James. From then on, he would be able to hold his head high in front of others. But how did it suddenly turn into this? Could this be the will of the heavens? This is my life. Mitchell sighed in his heart. Marianne looked at the anxious Mitchell and raised her neck high like a proud swan. That arrogant look really made Mitchell want to kick her butt hard. 3. Larry finally counted his third time. What should I do? What should I do? Do I really have to lower my head to Marianne, that vixen, and apologize? Looking at Larry's cold expression, Mitchell started to feel weak in his heart. In the end, Mitchell overcame the weakness in his heart. He felt that he could not lose his integrity and dignity for a bit of money. In a person's life, some things could be done while others couldn't be done, no matter the circumstances. He chose to save his self-respect. Wait a moment, Mr. Miller, can I say something? Just as Larry was about to fire Mitchell, James, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly opened his mouth. He could not stand Larry's sloppy way of handling matters. He had never seen anyone bullying others to such an extent. It was really bullying to the extreme. Larry looked at James and frowned. It seemed that he had not noticed him at all from the beginning until now. Marianne, who was standing next to him, pursed her lips and smiled. She whispered in his ear for a while and briefly explained her guess about James's identity. Larry's face regained its indifference. He shouted,
Who do you think you are? Get lost. You have no right to talk here.
James did not get angry when he heard that, but Mitchell did. James was his distinguished guest. He would not allow anyone to disrespect him, not even his boss.